You're wasting time overthinking everything. You already know what you need to do. But instead of taking that first uncomfortable step, you sit there and replay every possible scenario in your head. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not ready? What if it doesn't work out? Stop. That loop in your head is not strategy. That voice trying to convince you to wait, to plan more, to think it through just one more time. It's fear in disguise. It's not helping you. It's keeping you stuck. The truth is, overthinking is a form of self-sabotage. It gives you the illusion that you're being responsible or careful, but really you're just avoiding the discomfort of doing the thing. The longer you overthink, the further you drift from action. And action is the only thing that creates clarity. Let me say that again. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You can't think your way into confidence. You can't analyze your way into progress. You've got to move. You've got to try. You've got to be willing to be bad at something before you can be good at it. But your brain doesn't want that. Your brain wants to keep you safe, to avoid risk, to avoid failure. So it tricks you. It says, let's keep thinking about it. It tells you that you're being wise when really you're just stalling. You don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need another plan. You need to interrupt the pattern. That hesitation you feel before making a decision. That's the window. That's the moment you need to act. Not wait, not research, not ask 5 more people for their opinion. Just go. Make the call, send the email, launch the project. Speak up. Take the shot. Because every time you hesitate, you reinforce a habit of delay. And habits compound. If you make overthinking your default, it will steal years from your life without you even realizing it. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you stop thinking entirely. It means you stop letting your thoughts control you. It means you learn to recognize when your mind is spiraling and you say, enough. I've thought about this long enough. Now it's time to do something. That's where the power is, in breaking the loop. And I get it. Overthinking feels safe. It feels familiar. It feels like you're preparing, but you're not. Preparation without action is just procrastination in disguise. And you know this. Deep down, you know that the version of yourself you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of that first uncomfortable step. So here's what you do. The next time you catch yourself in that mental loop, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. That's it. Interrupt the cycle and act. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be real. Take one small action. Send one message. Write one paragraph. Make one decision. Make one decision. Because that one move, it builds momentum. And momentum is everything. The longer you sit in indecision, the heavier the task feels. But the moment you take action, the weight starts to lift. You feel in control again. You feel capable again. You realize, oh, it wasn't that bad after all. Well, go, and that's how you grow. That's how you build confidence. Not by thinking about doing something, but by actually doing it. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who had perfect plans. They're the ones who acted while everyone else was still stuck in analysis paralysis. They failed faster. They learned quicker. They moved. That's what separates the doers from the dreamers. So if you want to change your life, stop wasting time overthinking it. Your future doesn't care about how long you sat in fear. It cares about what you did. It rewards the bold, the decisive, the ones who are willing to leap before they feel fully ready. Because guess what? You'll never feel fully ready. That's a lie your brain tells you to keep you in the comfort zone. And comfort zones are where dreams go to die. So stop waiting. Stop thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Start thinking about what could go right if you just acted. This is your wake-up call. Your thoughts aren't facts. Your fear isn't truth. And your hesitation is costing you more than you realize. You don't need permission. You need to get out of your head and into your life. Think less. Do more. That's how you take back control. That's how you stop wasting time and start building the life you actually want. One bold move at a time. Perfectionism might sound noble on the surface, but underneath, it's fear wearing a mask. It's procrastination dressed up to look like high standards. You tell yourself you're not launching yet because it's not good enough. You say the timing isn't right. You tell yourself you just need to tweak it one more time, get one more opinion, polish it a little more. But deep down, you know the truth, you're stalling. You're using perfection as a shield to protect yourself from failure, judgment, and vulnerability. You've convinced yourself that everything needs to be flawless before you show it to the world. And because of that belief, you're stuck. Let me tell you something that will change your life. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the perfect plan, the perfect product, the perfect speech, the perfect time. Every single person you admire, every author, entrepreneur, artist, athlete, they didn't wait until it was perfect. They started messy. They launched before they were ready. They were scared. They were uncertain, but they moved anyway. That's what separates people who make progress from those who stay in their heads, paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection. The harsh reality is that perfectionism wastes your time. It keeps you stuck in the cycle of constant tweaking, editing, adjusting. And while you're busy making your project better, someone else is out there doing it. While you're obsessing over details that most people won't even notice, someone else is learning by doing, gaining real-world feedback, growing faster than you. They're building confidence through action. Meanwhile, you're still in planning mode. You're still convincing yourself that you need more time, and that's a lie your fear tells you. Progress is what matters. Improvement happens in motion. You don't get better by sitting in a room trying to make something perfect. You get better by putting your work out there, seeing what works, what doesn't, and adjusting along the way. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. But if you let perfectionism control you, you rob yourself of those experiences. You rob yourself of the lessons that only come from action. You need to understand this. Done is better than perfect. Taking imperfect action will always beat perfect intentions. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you never share it, it doesn't matter. You can have the most detailed plan, but if you don't act on it, it's worthless. The world doesn't reward the person who thought about doing something amazing. It rewards the person who actually did it, even if it wasn't perfect. This mindset shift is critical if you want to make progress. You have to stop tying your self-worth to the quality of your output. Your value isn't determined by how flawless something is. It's determined by your courage to show up, to try, to take risks, to be vulnerable. Because when you aim for perfection, you're really aiming to avoid criticism. You think, if I make it perfect, no one can judge me. But that's not how life works. Even the most polished, well-prepared people still get judged, still face criticism, still fail. So why not take the shot now, knowing that growth is messy, success is iterative, and the sooner you start, the faster you get there. It's time to let go of the belief that your work has to be flawless to be valuable. It doesn't. Your ideas are worth sharing, even in their early stages. Your projects are worth launching, even with flaws. Your voice is worth hearing, even if you stumble. Because the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be real, to be consistent, to move forward. That's how you gain momentum. And momentum, not perfection, is what changes lives. So the next time you catch yourself delaying, editing for the 100th time, or convincing yourself it's not ready, call yourself out. Ask, am I improving this or avoiding something? If the answer is avoidance, it's time to act. Release the draft. Make the post, send the pitch, speak the words. Whatever it is, do it, not because it's perfect, but because it matters. You matter, your progress matters. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And if you're brave enough to start before you feel ready, you'll discover something powerful. You didn't need perfect, you just needed to begin. That's where your transformation starts. Scrolling is not a strategy. You sit down to work, and before you know it, you've spent 45 minutes deep in a rabbit hole of content that has absolutely nothing to do with your goal. You tell yourself it's just a break, just a quick look at Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. But that quick break turns into wasted hours. You're consuming other people's lives, other people's ideas, other people's progress, while your own dreams sit untouched. It feels like you're doing something because your brain is stimulated, but you're not. You're just being distracted. You're reacting, not creating. And that distinction is everything. We live in a world that thrives on your distraction. Social media platforms are engineered, literally designed, to keep you scrolling. They prey on your attention, your curiosity, your boredom. Every swipe, every like, every view gives you a dopamine hit that makes your brain think something important is happening, but nothing is happening. Not in your real life. While you're watching other people chase their goals, build their businesses, create their content, you're doing none of that for yourself. You're caught in a cycle of passive consumption, and that cycle is slowly stealing your time, your focus, and your potential. Let's be honest. You don't need more inspiration. You already know what you want. You already have ideas. What you need is to stop numbing your discomfort with distraction. Because that's what scrolling is. It's avoidance. You're avoiding the hard work, the uncertainty, the vulnerability of actually doing the thing. You think watching one more video, one more podcast clip, one more day in the life will finally get you moving, but it won't. At some point, you have to stop looking for motivation and start creating discipline. At some point, you have to shut the noise off and trust yourself to act without needing another hit of inspiration. Being a passive observer won't change your life. Only action will. And that starts with taking your time and attention back. Every hour you spend watching other people is an hour you could have spent building your own thing, writing your own story, developing your own voice. If you have time to scroll, you have time to start. You just have to choose differently. And I get it. Creating is hard. It's uncomfortable. It requires effort, intention, and emotional energy. But that's the point. The very thing you're avoiding is the thing that will move you forward. This isn't about never using social media. It's about being intentional. Use it as a tool, not a crutch. If you're learning, studying, or genuinely connecting, great. But if you're just escaping reality, numbing discomfort, or comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, that's a problem. Because while you're scrolling, life is happening. Time is passing. And nobody is going to come pull your dreams out of your back pocket for you. That's your job. You have to decide that your goals matter more than someone else's vacation photos or productivity hacks or motivational clips. You already have enough information. You already know what the next step is. You just haven't taken it because it's easier to scroll than to act. But easy doesn't get you where you want to go. Easy keeps you average. Easy keeps you stuck. And the truth is, when you finally stop distracting yourself and start showing up consistently, you'll realize that the life you want isn't as far away as you think. It's just buried under all the time you've been giving away to things that don't matter. So here's your challenge. The next time you reach for your phone out of habit, stop. Ask yourself, is this helping me or distracting me? If it's distraction, put the phone down and do one small thing that moves you forward. One sentence, one rep, one email, one step. One step, that's how momentum starts. Not in a feed, but in the decision to act. You don't need more motivation. You need to take control of your time. You need to become a creator of your life, not a consumer of everyone else's. This is your moment to shift. You can choose to be present, to be intentional. To be intentional. To trade scrolling for strategy. Your goals deserve your full attention. Your future deserves your best effort. So stop wasting time watching and start building. Because every second you give away to meaningless content is a second stolen from the life you actually want. Waiting for motivation is one of the biggest lies you've been taught. Somewhere along the way, you started believing that you had to feel ready, inspired, or excited to start something meaningful. You started associating action with emotion, as if motivation was the fuel that gets the engine going. But it's not. Motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. It shows up when it wants. Most of the time, it doesn't show up at all. If you sit around waiting for it, you'll waste days, weeks, months, even years of your life waiting for a feeling that was never designed to come first. Action is what triggers motivation, not the other way around. Think about it. How many times have you had a goal in your head, something you genuinely wanted to do, but you didn't feel like doing it? You told yourself, I'll start when I'm more motivated. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll wait until the timing feels right. But that magical moment of readiness never came. Why? Because your brain prefers comfort. It doesn't naturally want to push you into discomfort, challenge, or risk. It wants to keep you safe. That's why motivation doesn't come on command. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. It's your job to override that. The truth is, you don't need to feel like doing something in order to do it. You just need to decide. You need to act even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that action, the very thing you're avoiding, is what creates momentum. And momentum is the real secret. Once you take that first step, even if it's small, you create movement. That movement changes your emotional state. It gives you a win. It tells your brain, hey, we're doing this. And suddenly, the motivation you were waiting for shows up. Not before, but after you start. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts you can make. Stop relying on motivation and start relying on habits. Habits are what carry you when your feelings don't cooperate. Discipline is what gets you through the days when you'd rather quit. Motivation might get you started once or twice, but habits and discipline are what build consistency. And consistency is where real growth lives. You want to change your life? Don't wait for a good mood. Don't wait for the right moment. Create a system that works even when you don't feel like it. You have to become the kind of person who acts regardless of emotion. You have to learn to take the first step before you feel ready, because ready is a myth. It's a moving target. If you keep chasing it, you'll never catch it. But if you commit to action, no matter what, you'll start seeing results. And those results will fuel you. They'll build your confidence. They'll create a feedback loop of progress. That's how motivation becomes sustainable, by doing, not by waiting. It starts with something simple. You set a goal, you break it down, and then you do the first thing. Whether you feel like it or not, you don't negotiate with yourself, you don't debate it, you just move. That's the power of the 5-second rule. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and act. Get out of your head and into your life. Interrupt the pattern of hesitation and replace it with momentum. Because if you don't take control of your actions, your excuses will. You have to treat motivation like a bonus, not a requirement. When it's there, great, use it, ride the wave. But when it's not, which will be most of the time, your habits have to take over. Your why has to take over. Your commitment to your future self has to be louder than the voice in your head saying, "Not today." So stop waiting. The perfect mood is not coming. The ideal conditions aren't coming. The fire in your belly motivation that hits like lightning, that might never show up. But you can still show up. You can still take action. And that action is what builds everything you say you want. Stop tying your success to how you feel. Start tying it to what you do. Because that's the real difference between people who move forward and people who stay stuck. The doers act regardless, the rest wait. And while they're waiting, the doers are out there building the life they once only dreamed about. People-pleasing might look like kindness on the outside, but inside, it's a hidden form of self-betrayal. Every time you say yes when you really want to say no, you're not just being polite. You're putting someone else's needs ahead of your own in a way that chips away at your time, your energy, and your sense of self. You're not helping. You're hiding. You're afraid of disappointing people, afraid of being judged, afraid of conflict. So instead of standing your ground, you bend. And the more you bend, the more out of alignment you become with who you really are and what you really want. Let's call it what it is. People-pleasing is time theft. You are literally handing over your life, one yes at a time, to things that don't serve your goals, your values, or your peace. You take on extra work you didn't want. You show up to events that drain you. You respond to texts when you're exhausted. You overextend, overcommit, and over-apologize, all to keep the peace or avoid guilt. And while you're doing that, guess what's not getting done? Your own priorities, your own growth, your own rest. It's not that you don't have enough time. It's that you've given too much of it away trying to be everything for everyone. And here's the hard truth. The people-pleasing doesn't make people like you more. It makes them expect more. When you consistently show up in a way that says, your needs are more important than mine, people get used to it. You train them to take advantage of your time and energy, even if they're not doing it maliciously. You set the standard. And when you finally do try to set a boundary, they push back. Not because they're bad people, but because you taught them that your default answer is yes. So why do we do it? It goes back to fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of being seen as selfish. But protecting your peace is not selfish. Saying no is not rude. Having boundaries is not cold. It's healthy. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to something that does. Your time is your most valuable resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's gone. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to it. You have to start trusting yourself enough to disappoint others if it means staying true to you. Not everyone is going to like it. Some people will be upset. That's okay. Let them be. Your job is not to manage other people's feelings. Your job is to manage your life. Every time you choose to honor your boundaries, you build self-respect. And the more you do that, the less tolerance you'll have for anything that drains or distracts you. Start small. The next time someone asks for your time or energy, pause. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Not, will they be upset if I don't? Not, what will they think? But, is this aligned with my priorities right now? If the answer is no, say no. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation or an apology. A simple, I can't commit to that right now, is enough. And if that feels hard, good. That's the point. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to stretch you. The more you practice this, the more empowered you become. You'll start noticing how much lighter you feel when you're no longer carrying everyone else's expectations. You'll have more time to focus on your goals, your passions, your peace. You'll start showing up to your life, not just other people's lives. And ironically, you'll probably find that the people who matter most respect you more for it. Because people sense when you're being authentic. They sense when you're acting from a place of strength instead of fear. People-pleasing might feel like love, but real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. Real respect doesn't come from being constantly available. It comes from being honest about what you can and cannot give. So stop saying yes out of guilt. Start saying no with confidence. Your time is too precious, your energy too sacred, and your dreams too important to keep putting yourself last. You're not here to live someone else's life. You're here to live yours, boldly, unapologetically, and on your terms. And that starts the moment you stop pleasing and start choosing. Comparison is one of the most toxic habits you can fall into, and yet it's one of the easiest. It happens almost automatically. You scroll through social media, see someone doing what you want to do, and suddenly, instead of feeling inspired, you feel inadequate. Their success feels like your failure. Their highlight reel makes your real life seem boring, slow, or not good enough. And here's the kicker. You're not even making a fair comparison. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's carefully curated, filtered, and edited moments. It's not real, but your self-doubt is. Comparison robs you of the most important thing you have, your focus. When you're looking at someone else's journey, you're not tending to your own. You're wasting mental energy analyzing someone else's choices, pace, and results, instead of putting that energy into your own growth. You start second-guessing yourself. You hesitate. You start thinking you're too late, or not talented enough, or that you missed your window, and all of that is a lie. You're not behind. You're not late. You're just distracted. The truth is, someone else's success doesn't mean there's less for you. Life is not a race or a zero-sum game. It's not like there's only one spot at the top and someone else already claimed it. There is room for everyone. But you can't find your own lane if you're always looking sideways. You can't hear your own voice if you're always listening to someone else's. You can't build your unique path if you're constantly trying to copy what's working for other people. You have to understand that your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's. Your timing, your process, your challenges, they're all custom designed for you. What took someone else 2 years might take you 5. What looks like overnight success for them might be the result of a decade of work you didn't see. You can't compare results without understanding the full context. And honestly, even if you knew every detail of their story, it still wouldn't change your own. You still have to do your work in your way at your pace. This doesn't mean you can't learn from others. You absolutely can. You should. But learn, don't compare. 5. Study people for insight, not for self-judgment. Let their success prove that it's possible, not that you're behind. Use what resonates and leave the rest. The moment you shift from comparison to curiosity, you take your power back. You stop using someone else's progress as a weapon against yourself, and you start using it as fuel for your own. You also have to remember that no one is posting their whole story. You're seeing a snapshot, a moment in time, not the failures, not the doubts, not the nights they almost quit. And chances are, the person you're comparing yourself to, they're comparing themselves to someone else, too. We're all dealing with insecurity in some form. You're not the only one wondering if you're enough. But if you keep looking outward for validation, you'll always feel like you're falling short. The only metric that really matters is who you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you putting in the work? That's the standard. That's where your focus needs to be. Because when you compare yourself to your past self, you see the truth. You've come farther than you give yourself credit for. You've overcome things that once felt impossible, and you're not done yet. Your story is still unfolding. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling, watching, analyzing, stop, pause and ask, is this helping me grow? Or is it distracting me from my purpose? If it's the latter, close the app, put your phone down and come back to your own life. Come back to your goals. Come back to your next step. Because that's the only thing that's actually in your control. Your actions, your choices, your mindset. Comparison will always try to pull you away from your power, but you don't have to listen. You can choose to stay rooted in your own path. You can choose to trust your own timing. You can choose to believe that your journey, with all its twists, setbacks, and victories, is exactly what it needs to be. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming, and that is more than enough. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is underestimating the power of small, consistent steps. So many people wait for the big moment, the grand opportunity, the perfect plan before they take action. They think success is built on huge breakthroughs or once-in-a-lifetime chances. But the truth is, greatness is rarely built in loud, dramatic moments. It's built quietly, day after day, in the small, often invisible choices you make when no one is watching. Skipping those small actions, brushing off the tiny habits, thinking it won't matter if I do it tomorrow instead. That's where most people lose. Not in a single catastrophic decision, but in the slow, silent erosion of consistency. We live in a world that praises overnight success and viral breakthroughs, but what they don't show you is the years of practice, the discipline, the repetition that made that success possible. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's the truth. The person who shows up every single day, tired, unmotivated, even uncertain, but still puts in the reps, still writes the words, still trains, still makes the calls. That's the person who wins. Not the one who works in bursts when they feel inspired, but the one who's willing to be consistent even when it's boring, even when no one is clapping. You have to stop thinking that small actions are meaningless. That 5-minute workout, that one healthy meal, that single page of writing, that extra 10 minutes reviewing your goals. It compounds. Every single action is a vote for the person you want to become. The problem is that the results aren't instant, and we've been conditioned to expect fast results. But the results you can't see immediately are often the most powerful ones. Like building a foundation underground, no one sees it, but it holds everything up. Consistency is what builds self-trust. When you show up for yourself every day, even in the smallest way, you start believing that you are capable, dependable, and disciplined. And once you believe that, everything changes. Your confidence doesn't come from motivation. It comes from evidence that you follow through, that you keep going, that you finish what you start, and that evidence only comes from showing up, not once in a while, but every day. And let's be clear, being consistent doesn't mean being perfect. You will miss days, you will slip up. That's not failure, that's life. What matters is how quickly you come back. What matters is not letting a bad day become a bad week or a bad month. You don't throw out the whole plan because of one mistake. You recommit, you reset, you keep going. That's the mindset that separates the doers from the dreamers. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see progress right away, but consistency is like planting seeds. You water them every day, but you don't see the sprout for weeks. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means growth is happening underground. And if you stop watering too soon because you don't see results, you kill the potential before it even has a chance to show up. You have to stay patient. You have to stay committed. You have to believe that the work you're doing is building something, even if you can't see it yet. If you look at anyone who's achieved something remarkable, You'll find a trail of small, consistent efforts behind them. They weren't always the most talented or the smartest, but they were the most disciplined. They kept showing up. They kept doing the work. They didn't rely on luck. They relied on habits. And that's something you can do too. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to commit to the process and trust that it will work if you do. So ask yourself, what's the small action you're avoiding? What's the one thing you know would move you forward, even just a little bit, that you've been telling yourself you'll do later? That's your starting point. Do it now. Then do it again tomorrow and the next day. Because consistency isn't about intensity. It's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to rely on motivation to take action. It's about choosing discipline even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's how you build something real. That's how you make progress that sticks. One small step every single day. Keep showing up. It matters more than you think.